Let's check out this video from this guy looking at Banksy's work. Forgot the name of the channel, but I'll shout you out, bro. But the important thing here is checking out Banksy's work from 2005. He spent a little time in the West Bank and Palestine and did a series of pieces on the wall that are just quite relevant for right now. In addition to that, you have him just finishing a piece in the UK that the authorities tried to scrub off of the wall and really only ended up making this thing look better. I mean, it's they failed in whatever they were trying to do there, and certainly they're still haunted by the shadow of the thing, as you'll see here shortly. So this stuff is important. You know, when I was reminded rather about Banksy's work from 2005 through this video, it really put into a different paradigm for me why he potentially would want to remain anonymous. I mean, they, no doubt there's anonymity involved with the essence of his artwork. It's part of what he does. It's part of who he is, who they are, right? Whoever this, if it's a man or a woman. But as we see with Charlie Kirk here, there may be other reasons that Banksy would want to stay anonymous. And then if you look at what the stunt in the gallery with the painting that shredded itself, you know, I mean, that could also be looked as like a mock and laughing right in the faces of these people that likely want their head. You think Israel's pleased about him coming to their land and doing this on the wall in 2005? The reason I say this is, of course, we have this recent assassination of Charlie Kirk. In one of my recent articles, I talked about Anas al-Sharif, and he was a journalist killed in Palestine. And, you know, he was trying to remember the scenario. He was struck oh, that's right, because there was 2 strikes of journalists next to hospitals in weeks apart. Okay, in the first one, Anas al-Sharif and his crew were killed, and he's an Al Jazeera reporter. And then in the second one, you had a mixed bag of reporters representing all sorts of different independent or mainstream and even independent news media. So in my coverage of the assassination of Anas, which takes place within the context of a war zone where Israel finds it appropriate to assassinate journalists. The war is on, and the genocide is on, not just against innocent civilians and Palestinians, but anyone trying to talk about the truth as well. If you're trying to report reality from on the ground there, your neck is sticking out. And they've proven that they're more than willing to chop it off. In that article, I talked about this campaign being put on in front of the world by the state of Israel and their government is the most aggressive nip it in the bud campaign that we've ever seen, right? So I think that's highlighted more than ever with the assassination that we just witnessed here. And then when I saw this work from Banksy, it sure put his anonymity in different perspective for me. So that's what we're going to go over. Let me pull this back, and we'll flip to it. Where we at here? Okay. Yep, roll it.
In just a wonderful twist of irony, the British government's attempt to try and scrub a new piece of Banksy art off a building has backfired, creating a more powerful piece of art in the process. This, while they are potentially, for the first time, legally going after Banksy, and the reason for that, I think, is clear. So in this video, I'm going to break down what happened here, including the incredible ironic reaction from the British government.
Most aggressive nip it in the bud campaign. We have to understand that Israeli censorship fits hand in glove with Western censorship at this point. any of the censorship that's taking place in Western governments and societies that's outside of the realm of Israel is being done so within the realm of the divisiveness that they've put in play to keep us separated and fighting with each other.
As well as how this connects to the Palestinian fight for freedom, which Banksy has been an active voice in through their art. So first, let me show you the piece and explain what's going on here. This is a judge in the traditional wig and black gown beating an unarmed protester with a gavel. This was captioned on Banksy's Instagram with Royal Courts of...
Beautiful piece of artwork. Let us just pause for that for a second. Gorgeous. Well done.
Justice London, which is where this piece of graffiti is placed. And as CBC News writes here, while the artwork doesn't explicitly refer to a particular cause or incident, activists saw it as a reference to the UK government's ban on the group Palestine Action. On Saturday, almost 900 people were arrested at a London protest challenging the ban.
Check out my Substack here. I'll link it. I have an article that I wrote a few weeks ago. It was on the first mass arrest that they did regarding the Palestine Action Group, and it's titled "Fishing with a T-Shirt." So check that out. This dude made a pretty slick T-shirt design that looked just like the Palestine Action logo, and managed to get him arrested and another guy in Scotland a few days later, a week later, I believe, arrested, even though the T-shirt they're wearing didn't say anything having to do with Palestine, just because it merely looked like the logo. And, you know, this rabid need that authorities feel to censorship obviously has rendered their officers unable to read, right?
So before I get further into the reaction from the UK government to this piece of art, as well as some other Banksy art referring to Palestinian freedom, it's worth noting how insane this ban on Palestine Action is. So there's a great piece here from The Guardian from Haroon Sadiq. I'll link to it below the video under sources on YouTube. But as they write here, a ban on Palestine Action, which uses direct action to mainly target Israeli weapons factories in the UK and their supply chain, was voted through by Parliament. Despite attempts to try and block the ban, it's still gone through.
Now that requires some definition here. So the initial protest, the initial act of terrorism, if you want to call it that, was people from the group itself breaking into a Royal Air Force base, and they spray painted two airplanes. Okay. Now that has turned into them being described as a terrorist organization, saying that they target weapons factories and yada, yada, yada. All of the other arrests around and surrounding Palestine Action have taken place in the manner of protests, typically peaceful protests. These mass arrests, 900 people, 400 some people. The most recent one, they were arresting elderly people. There was a guy that was like blind and deaf in a wheelchair. They wheeled him out. I mean, it's insane. It's sick. So I wanted to put that in its proper context.
It means Palestine Action will become the first direct action protest group to be banned under the Terrorism Act, placing it in the same category as Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, and the far-right group National Action.
So this Terrorism Act, of course, is an extension of everything that started in the West with like the Patriot Act here in America, post 9/11, and is now, proceeded to all sorts of laws and legislations that just remove all of our collective rights.
The main target has been stopping Elbit Systems, which markets itself as the backbone of the IDF. As my client says, the aim of terrorism is to take lives and hurt people. That's the opposite of what we do. So while the IDF, the Israeli government, are not listed as terrorists, despite the fact that they are currently committing a genocide, an internationally recognized genocide, even by human rights organizations within Israel calling it a genocide, this group, Palestine Action, are being targeted and called terrorists, even though their goal is to stop the killing of innocent lives. So as I go over this story here about Banksy and the reaction from the UK government, I think it's important to keep in mind the genesis of all of this and how absolutely insane it is for the government to try and claim that Palestine Action is a terrorist organization. Now, I want to show you just a bit of the history with Bank.
Especially because, like I said, their terrorist act was spray painting two airplanes that in a Royal Air Force base that they broke into with red paint.
Banksy in his standing up for the rights of Palestinians. So there's a great article here from Banksy explaining, link to below the video, as well as from imeu.org. Okay. I'm going to quote just a couple paragraphs from each of them as I show you some of the art that Banksy has put up in the West Bank and in Gaza. So in August 2005, Banksy visited Palestine, where he painted with his team 7 large murals on the West Bank wall, also referred to as the segregation wall.
2005, okay, this has been going on for a long time, and this was when the siege of Gaza started. You hear what he said, the segregation wall. If you follow the conflict and the war in Gaza, in the West Bank, and in Palestine, people talk about a siege that has been happening for 20 years. This was the start of it, okay? So Banksy, he, they, her, whatever, they were on the pulse at this time. And like I said, after seeing what happened to Charlie Kirk, there's no reason why whoever did this will want to stay anonymous.
The security barrier separating the occupied territories from Israel is over 450 miles long and 38 feet high. It was deemed illegal by the International Court of Justice, but construction by the Israeli government continued. Human rights organizations and others have accused Israel of designing the winding route of the wall, which has been dubbed the, quote, apartheid wall, to put as much Palestinian land and as many...
This was, I did a piece, I'll show a bunch of art that I've done. There's a piece that I did of the word Gaza where it was floating like balloons like this, and that was essentially what I was like going after, man. Just like feeling hopeless and thinking that you could just float right out of this place if you could, you know. These 7 pieces are just amazing to me. They're beautiful, and I think the world needs to see them now more than ever.
Israeli settlements as possible on the western or Israeli side, while placing as many Palestinians as possible on the eastern side, effectively annexing large swaths of Palestinian land. And one of the more...
A piece with a bulletproof vest. Striking. Yeah, I don't even know what to say to that.
Incredible stories to come out of that is the fact that Israel apparently mistook Banksy art for Palestinian land, as they stole it. There is now a piece of Banksy art. This is the slingshot rat sitting in a Tel Aviv gallery. As The Guardian writes here, it has sparked a debate over the legality of taking cultural artifacts from occupied land.
More than that.
Can't say this is surprising in the least. Now, let's get back to the piece of art in London.
Real quick, let's look at this. This is a good lesson on what they do, okay? So them taking this art, this is a lot more than, you know, cultural artifacts and everything. I mean, it fits under that, and it's certainly likely able to be litigated under that, which, you know, the rest of the world tries to follow the law. That's all they have left to defend themselves against us. However, this piece, them stealing this, putting it in their gallery, and then having that being the one that they chose to steal to put on display speaks volumes. This is a ceremony. This is a ritual in power. This is them flaunting their power and saying that, yeah, you guys can do this and you can speak the truth, but look, this is ours and we can do what we want with it anyway. And as a matter of fact, we'll humiliate you because we'll take the image that depicts the Palestinian as a rat, because that fits very, very squarely into how we look at them and how we dehumanize the Palestinian people so that we can murder all of them and genocide them. You know, of course, you have this rat depicting the stone-throwing Palestinian people because they're being genocided with no access to weapons, under siege, and they resort to throwing rocks at the one of the most modern militaries in the world, and that's how they face off. These people have balls beyond belief, and they've chose to stand up and fight in the most honorable way. for what's theirs.
Let's get back to the piece of art in London. So this was spray painted on a building that is 143 years old. And it's,
Take that.
as you're going to see, it was removed, sort of. Quote, the Royal Courts of Justice is a listed building and HMCTS are obliged to maintain its original character. It said in a statement, listed buildings are considered the country's most significant historic buildings and sites and are protected by law. So there were people here, as it was covered up before it was taken down or removed, trying to peek behind the wall here, checking it out.
No, I don't give a.
And great quote here, where the piece, quoting Banksy, saying,
Check out how. This is how aggressive and drastic their nip it in the bud campaign that I spoke of is. It's the same campaign that murdered Charlie Kirk. They're so worried about the truth getting out, and they want to hide every second of it that they can, that they got a wall up in front of this thing, man. Do you understand that this is how they've been able to commit this genocide in front of the world by aggressively censoring every single thing, left, right, and center? If you speak out in the slightest, they will come for you. You cannot have a job here in corporate America. Look what they just did to Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. They came after Massey like he was the bad guy for speaking out and questioning Israel. These are the two folks that don't take AIPAC money. Nip it in the bud in the most obsessive, violent, and aggressive way.
art should comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable.
Art should comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable.
As they are trying to remove the piece of art, scrubbing it off the wall. But, I don't know. There's some incredible irony here. As Barry Malone, journalist, writes here, when you try to remove a piece of art and accidentally make it better. This is a piece of art discussing or trying to showcase, highlight government censorship. And in the process, they put on full display a piece of government censorship. It's absolutely incredible. You have to wonder if this was done on purpose, knowing they were going to remove it and knowing the kind of wall it was, the building, the brick, whatever it is.
No. Well, okay. You can see he was doing it physically when he was doing this with the wire brush. I think they took it as far as they could before they had to stop because they would have damaged the building. Now, I've worked in trade for over 20 years. I'm well acquainted with this type of work, so that comes from a place of knowledge for sure. Now, it wasn't on purpose as far as censoring the message. They wanted to erase that, believe that. Because when the informed look upon this stuff, maybe like myself, like this guy, or like our viewership, we see it for what it is, and we're clocking it, and we're watching it, and we're hip to it. But what keeps it away from the dumb people, what keeps the dumb people dumb and ignorant to all this stuff is the aggressive censorship. Every little bit that they are able to cut out, take away, limit access to, that's more dumb people that they can keep dumb. You understand? This is a direct, and that's why videos like this are so important. Like, even if you understand this stuff, please share this stuff with people who don't. I make all my work for free. I've devoted my complete life to this at this point in time. I just need help in getting this information out there, and that's how important this is it needs to get out there. This is the thing that will save our country. This is the thing that will save us. We are under the oppressive thumb of a maniacal Jewish-led Western government that wants to put in the global order in play. You know, just because we're not a part of BRICS and just because we got kicked out of that show don't mean that we ain't got the New World Order coming into play here. Are you kidding me? They're going to try to chip you. They're going to censor you and do all the things. Look, they're already doing it.
Knowing that it would end up looking this way. because I don't know if this really counts as removing it. And I'm going to guess they're not going to paint over it because the building isn't painted. So it would just look odd to paint one spot. And that in itself may be considered vandalism. So this just may be how it's left.
If I had to guess, before he goes into this awesome piece of photography where the photographer caught the shadow running down the wall, really cool. But if I had to guess, they're probably angling to put another whitewash on the side of that building. So that's like a physical layer of stuff you smear on the side of that. And I think at this point, that's probably how I would handle it. So we'll see what happens.
And another image here. I wish I could credit whoever took this. It may have been this individual, but just beautiful the way this has come out. Now,
and that's lime wash, not whitewash, lime wash that they're putting on the side of the building. Same thing they make mortar out of.
Banksy apparently could be unmasked as police probe criminal damage over this piece of art. You have to wonder, what is it exactly about this piece of art? I know it's on a government building, but we're going to get to another example of a piece of Banksy art on a government building that apparently wasn't a big deal. But something interesting about this. So as Tiberius shares here on Twitter, Banksy graffitis hundreds of political slogans all over the world for 25 years. Police, silence. Banksy criticizes crackdown on anti-genocide activists. Police, launch investigation. Can you see how terrified they are of Palestinian liberation?
This is the aggressive nip it in the bud campaign. That's what he's talking about. Terrified they are. Straight terrified. Any little bit that they see, they're coming after it. This is what just happened to Charlie Kirk. May he rest in peace, man.
There really does appear to be, that really does appear to be the issue. Because what else is it about this piece of art? Because in the past, somebody brought up in someone else's thread here, are you high? Free speech doesn't give anyone the right to vandalize public buildings. Well, the city of London preserved this police box that Banksy sprayed. So, spray painting something that is of police property usually doesn't lead to a good outcome. If anything, that is the most risky of places to place your art, is anything involving the police. But here it was
and in addition, I would say to this guy who's speaking out on behalf of our historical sites, fuck those buildings, man. Fuck the fucking buildings, bro. They're killing children with drones. They're chipping people just to make them get food. Genocide and ethnic cleansing on full display, and you want to worry about historical buildings, man. Go fuck yourself. Get fucked.
Observed. Yet, when it comes to criticizing actions taken against peaceful protesters standing up for Palestinians, all of a sudden it becomes a big issue. Very bizarre stuff. So let me know your thoughts below in the comments on this entire story. And I don't know, where do you see this going?
Very well done, dude. Shout out to my man, Rational National. Very, very well done. You got my sub. And yeah, you guys go check him out. I'm going to cut to going over a few pieces of my artwork here, and we'll leave this video at that.